current district directors, other marketing team members, as well as other District 8 leaders for joining us today. To everyone on the call today or watching the recording, thank you. Thank you for joining us for this training, Successful Club Coaching, with our guest, Bob Heaton. Today, Bob and the District 8 leaders are extremely proud to unveil the new District 8 Club Coach Playbook. You can find the playbook on the District 8 website at all lowercase DIST8TM.org. Hover over the Resources tab, scroll down to Club Coaching, click on that. That will open up the Club Coaching resources. Scroll down to the Club Coach Playbook, click that, and you will see our newest edition. Bob will be referring to the new Club Coach Playbook in today's presentation. Now, I want to introduce our presenter for today, Bob Heaton. Bob has been a Toastmaster since he joined Save-A-Lot Toastmasters as a charter member in 2006. He earned his Distinguished Toastmaster Award this year in 2020 after a 14-year membership. Bob recently retired from a 23-year career at Save-A-Lot. For 18 of those years, Bob was in the Training and Development Department within Human Resources. He facilitated seminars in a wide variety of topics, including leadership, retail management, communication, and diversity, along with a variety of specialized topics. Please join me in welcoming Bob Heaton, Successful Club Coaching. Successful Club.
Hi, I'm looking for the club president. Are you the club president? The club president's got to be here somewhere. Are you the club president? My goodness, it's almost time to start the meeting. The club president has got to be here somewhere. Are you the club president?
Over here. I'm the club president. Who are you?
Well, my name is Bob, and I was just asked by District 8 to consider being a club coach for your club.
Club coach. Finally. I requested a coach months ago.
Well, I was just asked to take a look at this just very recently. So tell me, Art, what's wrong with your club?
It's a long list. We better hurry. But, we never start on time anyhow. Membership is dwindling. It's hard to get members to sign up for roles, much less do a speech. Visitors don't come back. We have to fill roles at the beginning of the meetings. No one ever prints agendas. Meetings are haphazard, and meetings just don't seem to be fun anymore.
Oh, well, Art, that's easy. All we've got to do is advertise your club a little bit. We'll plan the agendas ahead of time. We'll designate someone to print those set agendas. We'll assign meeting roles and speeches, and we'll organize your meetings better.
Great. How do you plan on doing all of that? How long will it take?
Fellow Toastmasters, let me ask you about that interaction that we just had a couple seconds ago, and feel free to unmute and interject at this point. But how did that meeting go between me as the club coach and Art as the club president? Anybody have any comments on anything like that? Did it go well?
If I was the club president and you asked me what's wrong with your club, I would immediately be very defensive and say, you know what, we're a great club. Maybe we've got some problems, but don't come in here asking what's wrong.
Very good comment, good start. Anybody else would like to add to that?
It struck me as a little arrogant, even after I've read the script 3 or 4 times.
Script? There was no script there. All right, tell you what, let's take that script and let's change it around a little bit and let's give it another shot. And I'm still going to play me, and I'm going to come into a club and I'm going to say, hi, I'm looking for the club president.
Hi, my name's Evelyn. Art is our president. Let's go find him and I'll introduce you.
Well, terrific, thank you. Well, hi, Art. My name is Bob. I'm here to investigate the possibility of becoming a club coach for your Toastmaster club.
That's great. I requested a club coach, and I'm glad you finally showed up. Let's visit for a few minutes before the meeting and then afterwards, if your schedule will allow it.
As I understand it, and what I've been told and what I'm learning through Toastmasters, is that the primary reason for a club requesting a coach is that their membership has dropped below 12 members, and it's difficult to run effective, productive meetings with less than 12 members. Is that the position your club is in right now?
Yes, it is.
Well, Art, I'd really love to be able to work with you and your club to help increase membership, which in turn, with more membership, is going to help improve other aspects of your club.
Great. How will we be able to accomplish that goal?
Well, first thing I'd like to do, Art, is visit your club a few times and just to kind of get a feel for your club and to see how you do things and kind of understand what your club is like. And then we could progress from there as deemed appropriate.
Sounds great. The meeting is about to start. Have a seat and enjoy yourself.
What do you think about that interaction? How did that go? Any comments?
Sounded a lot better.
I was hoping it would be a whole lot better, but I'll take somewhat.
More collaborative.
Yeah, that's the big point right there. The first interaction, Art was like, how are you going to do this, Bob? The second interaction was kind of like, how are we going to do it? And that's what we're going to focus on today. How are we going to work together to make a Toastmaster Club better? So let me open up my screen. And here we go. We have a brand new Club Coach Playbook, which Evelyn has already referenced, and it has just been posted to the District 8 site. During the course of time that we're here together, I'm going to be spending a lot of time referencing some things that are on the Toastmaster International website, as well as what's in the Club Coach Playbook. This is what we're going to be kind of going through the entire time here, and we're going to help you be a successful club coach. And I'm going to go through a process to help you be that first-class coach for everything that you would like to be able to do. For any presentation, there's always going to have to be some kind of agenda or an outline of topics on things that we're going to talk about. This one is really pretty short. We're going to talk about club coach qualifications, what it means for you to be a coach, what you need to be able to possess to be a coach for a club. But I'll tell you right now, just being here for this presentation and the willingness to work with a club is absolutely the biggest thing that you can possibly have as far as qualifications to make you be a good coach. This is going to be pretty quick when we go through this particular one, because like I say, you already have the most important qualification. There are some qualifications for the club also. Why is a club coach needed for a particular club? This will be a relatively quick discussion also, but where we're going to spend most of our time today is how to be an effective club coach. My intent is to walk you through a process to help you be the best club coach, to get the best results from helping a club you can possibly do. The reality is here today, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about things that you can do for the club, things that will help the club. But I'm going to ask you one more question. I'll be inviting some feedback on this one. What are some things that you think that you as a coach could gain from being a coach for a Toastmaster club? What are the benefits for you? Any thoughts from anyone?
You're going to learn a lot of skills for yourself, aside from getting that feeling, that great feeling from helping some other people. You're going to be using a lot of skills of observation and giving good feedback, of coming up with ideas, collaborating, all kinds of communication and leadership skills in a real world setting, as long as you figure a Toastmasters club is the real world. You're using them in a practical way.
All right, very good. Anybody would like to add on to that at all?
Yeah, I think definitely improves your listening skills, because it's not just visiting for 1 or 2 meetings, it's who's participating, what are some of the issues that haven't been stated as issues, and gives you something to work with as far as your assessment.
Very good. Really good comments. A couple other things I'd just like to add on to there, because You are an experienced Toastmaster. You're going to be able to share your expertise, but you're also, like I say, you're going to get information back from the club. It's going to help you be better at what you do. And these things were already mentioned: building the teams better, working with teams, collaboration, leadership skills. All of those things are going to help you be better at what you do and are going to help the clubs also. When we talk about the club coach qualifications, here is the biggest thing that you can possibly be: a Toastmaster who is not a member of a struggling club upon assignment. That's your qualification. As long as you don't belong to that club, you can be that club coach. And once again, being here for this seminar and working through this process is really the biggest thing you possibly do. Now, are you ready for the big one, for the club qualification, for them requiring or being able to have a coach? And I mentioned that in the introduction that Art and I did a few minutes ago, and that is the club has fewer than 12 paid members. If a club is down to less than 12, it's very hard to run an effective meeting. And at that time is when the coach comes in. Keeping in mind here, in the last couple minutes, we've already covered 2 of the 3 bullet points about successful club coaching. But we're going to spend most of our time here today. In fact, from here on, we're going to talk about the process of coaching a club. I'm going to give you kind of a 35,000-foot view of what a club coach is. During this process, I'm going to mention the club coach playbook. I'm going to mention the club retention chair, who you know now is Evelyn. And I'm going to be mentioning a few things that are actually on the Toastmasters International website that we're going to be able to talk about. But I want to spend, like I've mentioned, most of the time that we have left on what it is to be a good club coach. Now, even though we did 2 of the first 3 bullet points, there's going to have to be an overview of the 3rd one. I'm going to break that 3rd bullet point down as far as the process goes into 5 more bullet points. And the first one is, we're going to talk about an initial needs analysis of that particular club. The next 3 bullet points are very important. I felt that they were so important that I had to come up with some very creative name or title for the next 3 bullet points. Are you ready for this? This is about as creative as it gets around here. The first official visit, the second official visit, and the 3rd official visit. How do you like that? We're going to be talking about 3 different visits here, and then we're going to talk about at the very end a mission statement and action planning. Now, I do want to caution you here that even though it says needs analysis, 1, 2, and 3 visits and mission statement, that doesn't mean you're going to be done coaching this club in 5 meetings. Each of these steps are going to require more than 1 meeting, and how many it's going to take is going to be depending upon how well the club is, how open they are to coaching, and you following the process to help them do what they need to do. In my experience as a training and development leader, I've found that a lot of my training started out by being, just tell the retail leadership teams what to do, and they'll do it. Well, that didn't turn out real good for me in a lot of cases. Over the course of time, I took quite a few classes for me on how to be a better classroom facilitator and leader. What I found was that if I could help the members of the class or my retail leadership teams, if I could help them discover on their own how to do certain things, their success goes way up. Now, don't confuse that with teaching somebody how to do something. If there was a new process or procedure that had to be done, that has to be taught. Don't confuse those 2 things. I am really, really big on members in my classes self-discovering what they can do to help make things better. And the rest of the time that we're here together this afternoon, I'm going to encourage you to be the coach and to allow the at-risk club to experience the self-discovery about their club and how they can do things. For example, let's suppose that once you get into this club and you do your first visit, let's suppose that you discover immediately that they don't recognize member achievement. They don't give out certificates for the level 1 accomplishment or level 2 or whatever it is, and they just don't do it. It would be really easy for you to say, you need to recognize club members for level 1, level 2, and so on like that. Problem solved, right? But here's the thing. Let's think about doing that self-discovery thing. And during the course of the time that you're doing some of these assessments with the club, let's suppose that they discover, wow, we've never recognized anybody for a level 1 achievement. We should probably do that. Now, what's going to carry more weight and what's going to be more likely for success? You telling them to recognize members, or them saying, we don't recognize members, we should really do it ourselves? If they can discover it on their own, the likelihood of success in them doing that on a continuous basis is going to be much higher than just telling them what to do. Let's start with the initial needs analysis. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat here that when I get started here, the initial needs analysis is not going to be one meeting, because an at-risk club is probably only, again, there are less than 12 members, and they're at risk because they don't get a lot of attendance at their club. They may not get a lot of participation. They may only have 6 or 7 members at the first meeting that you go to. And that will not be enough time for you to be able to determine how good their club is or where their weaknesses follow. So what you're going to have to do first off is to attend multiple meetings to be able to start making your notes, assessing the club, and determining what might need to be done. To be able to assess the at-risk club, there's a form that Toastmasters International puts out that's called the Club Coach Troubleshooting Guide. I'm going to show you a small example of it in just a moment here, and we're going to talk about a little bit on how to actually do that. But this is a really, really good tool to be able to use to help determine what the club is like. And at this point, you still haven't necessarily agreed to be the club coach, and this is going to help you determine if you actually want to move forward to be the club coach. So, are you a good match for the club? Is the club a good match for you? Those are things that you're going to have to determine by assessing this particular club. And the last point in the initial needs analysis is to make sure that you communicate and communicate and communicate. The person specifically that I want you to communicate with is actually going to be Evelyn, because she is your club retention chair, and it's her role to help you coach this club to get better at what you do. So once you decide to move forward, then you will be communicating with her on a regular basis. This is what the Club Coach Troubleshooting Guide looks like. I'm not intending for you to read it. It's not the entire form. I wanted to make it big enough so that you could at least see a little bit of it, but the statements on the left and the statements on the right are actually opposing statements. Maybe some of you have seen this already. Then there's a rating scale in between there, right in the middle. And this is where you're going to rate the club and start making your notes about this club. There's two things actually, very important that are missing here. Any idea what those might be on things that are not on this form that I'm showing you at this point? Any ideas? That's okay.
You're not rating the openness to outside guidance.
That's probably true. Excellent. What else? Anything? Now remember, when you're looking at this Club Coach Troubleshooting Guide, you're actually looking at how the club does their meetings, how they progress through the meetings and what they do. And you are trying, as the prospective coach at this point, to determine whether or not you're going to continue working with this club. Two things that are missing here. Number one, there's no place for comments. So when you do this assessment here, make sure you have a notebook or some other paper that you can write down as many notes as you want. And I'll tell you right now, all of these notes and all these ratings, these are for you. These are for you to keep private to yourself until which point you decide you want to go ahead and move forward with club coaching. The second thing that's missing here is corrective action. Every one of those things that if they are rated low, there is a corrective action that you can find, but let's go back to that self-discovery thing. If the club can look at one of these things or two of these things or however many they are and say, this is where I'm being rated low, what kind of action plan should we put together? And now we're back to the club sees it, the club analyzes it, the club puts together the action plan, and the club implements. When the club does all of these things, the likelihood of success for that particular one is going to skyrocket. It's going to absolutely skyrocket. After you get through this and you go through the whole assessment here, at this point, you're going to have to decide, are you going to go ahead and move forward with this club coaching program? Let's make the assumption that you are going to do it. And now you are officially the club coach. It's official. You're going to work with them now, and you've got to put together a plan. When you become the official club coach, you're going to probably have a lot of questions that are going to be coming into your mind. Every one of these questions that you see here are very legitimate questions, and there are people there that are going to be able to help you. I can be available. Evelyn's there. You've got District 8 leaderships there, but your first point of contact is always going to be the club coach chair. So do these look like all reasonable questions? I think they do. And what we're going to take a look at now is, what does success look like? And we're going to take a look at success by looking at who you are first. And first of all, you are the club coach. And you are going to wear many, many hats. You're going to be a consultant. You are going to be a counselor. You are going to be a guide. You are also going to be an effective communicator, and you are going to be a facilitator. You as the club coach, you are going to wear many hats, a lot to do for you, and I offer you my heartiest congratulations for choosing to be a club coach. Oh, there we go. Now let's go ahead and move on now and start looking at the official visits. Now the club coaching, keep in mind, the official first visit is not necessarily the very first time that you go there. Because remember, you've already done the club coach troubleshooting guide. You've already done that, and you've already got a lot of information about there. But now we're going to get into what we call the actual first visit. And before you get into that first visit, you need to make sure that you communicate with the club officers and schedule 10 to 15 minutes to address the club. You want to be able to come in, introduce yourself, tell them who you are, tell them why you're there, and tell them what a club coach is going to do or is planning on doing, and what the club coach program is like. This is part of the first official visit. And again, keeping in mind, I can't stress this enough, it's going to be multiple visits for the first official visit. On this first official visit, you are also going to introduce to them, and some of you have probably heard of this also, a Moments of Truth survey. If you're not familiar with this, this is a survey that I'm going to ask you to have all of your club members take, but I'm asking you to have them do that outside of the club meeting. Just by virtue of the fact that it's going to be done outside of the club meeting, it's going to probably take a few meetings to be able to get everyone to fill out the survey. If you only have 6 people at the meeting, the initial meeting that you're at, and you're getting ready to hand them out, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get them all out. You may have to take another week or another week to make sure everybody gets them. Now, it is extremely important. It's extremely important to give the opportunity to every member in the club the opportunity to complete this Moments of Truth survey. The importance of that rests on the fact that you want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to share their thoughts. You do not want to get down the road a few weeks and talk about the Moments of Truth survey, and then you have somebody that says, I wasn't asked about this, this is not my opinion, I disagree with what's going on. You may even want to go so far as to document days that you're at the meetings. On such and such date, I handed out the survey. On such and such date, I came back to collect them. So you want to do everything, I mean everything you can possibly do to get everyone involved in doing this particular survey. When you're ready to do that, the survey, the complete survey, and I'm going to show you a sample in just a moment, the complete survey is printed in the back of the Club Coach Playbook. I'm going to ask you to print and distribute a survey to all members. I'm going to ask you to have the officers do 2 sets because you want them to look at the club from 2 different points of view when they do the survey. One from the officer's role and one from a member role. So the ones that you're going to give to the officers, identify them simply as EXO. You don't want any names on these. You want it to be completely anonymous. And by being anonymous and encouraging no names, by encouraging that, hopefully you will get more truthfulness and honesty with that group. Now, I've already given you a little heads up here, but what's the single most important thing to encourage regarding the completion of any kind of survey? It is absolutely true. It is going to be honesty. If you don't get honest answers with everybody, or if you get somebody that rates everything very high, or somebody that rates everything very low, you're not going to be getting truthful answers. You've got people who are probably not invested in this particular club. Here's what the Moments of Truth survey looks like. This is just a small example of it. This is not the entire thing by any stretch of the imagination, but this particular one starts out by talking about first impressions. And then there's 5 or 6 questions about first impressions, and they can be rated from 1 to 5. You're going to ask every member to rate every single question, and then they don't have to necessarily do the totaling on it. You can do that when you get them back, but if they want to do it, that's perfectly fine. So you got first impressions, you've got membership orientation. The third one is fellowship, variety, and communication, all rolled up into one. Then you've got program planning and meeting organization. You've got membership strength and achievement recognition. You are going to then take all of these surveys, again, over of course a few weeks, tally all the results, put it all together, and share the results of the survey with the club. Share the positive as well as the negative, because they need to know everything. At this point also, this is a real good time to prepare some sort of a summary that you can share with Club Coach Chair Evelyn. Okay? Now, you're going to tally all the results, give them that next meeting that you have all the results, take about 30 minutes to share the results, again, both positive and negative. And then after you've gone through the Moments of Truth survey, again, keep in mind, you're still in the official first meeting. Then we're going to begin doing what we call a SWOT analysis. Some of you may be familiar with SWOT analysis. It's just SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And here's how we're going to go ahead and start doing that. Also in the Club Coach Playbook, in the back of it, there are 2 handouts. One is a sheet that has a column for strengths and a column for weaknesses. And then there's 10 rows down below that. Hand one of these out to everybody. I am going to ask you to have them put their names on these this time, but you're still going to keep the results confidential. You're going to ask them to identify 10 strengths of this club and 10 weaknesses of this club from their point of view. And they will be getting some ideas from the Moments of Truth survey that they've already done to be able to complete this. Ask them to give you 10 for each, but if you get 5 from everybody, you can be thrilled with that amount. That's pretty good. Once they do that in the meeting time, collect all those, and then you're going to have to compile them in some form or fashion to be able to share this information back with them. Once again, with low membership, it may take a few meetings for you to be able to get the strengths and weaknesses charts out to everybody and back from everybody. But once you get that all taken care of, once you get them all out, then you're going to be able to start sharing that information at a subsequent meeting. Once they've done that list of 10 strengths and weaknesses, close your portion of the meeting, thank them for their honesty, thank them for their openness, and reiterate that everything that they put down on these sheets is going to go only to you as far as who said what. Now, when you ask them for their name on their forms, if somebody pushes back a little bit and says they don't want to put their name on it, they don't think they should have to, get in. Don't have them do that. Just make sure you let them know that the intent for their names is only to be able to return the sheet to them at a subsequent meeting. And that is pretty much going to take care of your first official visit. There's a lot to do, and it's going to take more than one meeting, but it's a lot of good information gathering by the time you get everything done. Let's move in now to the second official visit. And the second official visit is going to start off with facilitating a discussion on strengths and weaknesses that they did the last time. Now, when I say facilitate a discussion, what I'm encouraging here is one of 2 things. If you are lucky enough to be able to do these meetings in person, maybe you can set up some flip charts and put strengths on one, and on another sheet put weaknesses. And what you're going to ask them to do is give you all the information that they put down on the strengths and weaknesses charts already. So go around the room, one person at a time, Give me a strength, give me a strength, give me a strength. Get all the way around, get a different one from everybody, and then complete your chart for strengths. And do this chart for the weaknesses also, and you're going to be writing everything down that they say. Now, as a facilitator, when you are doing a flip chart like this, it is very important that you write down everything that they say. Don't write down what you think they said. Write down what they did say. If you're going to abbreviate something, ask for their permission. Can I write it down like this? If you don't understand exactly what they said, ask a clarifying question. But as the facilitator, you are not going to be interjecting any of your own thoughts into this, only what they have to say. Now that you've got those, that's really the first part of your second official visit. You're kind of done with that, and now it's time to schedule another 30-minute meeting at a subsequent club meeting. This is going to be obviously dependent upon when you are able to get everything done and how long it takes to get these charts out, to get them back, you to summarize them. And again, keeping in mind that you're going to be the only one that sees these, it's still going to be a good idea to create a summary for Evelyn, but not say, hey, Evelyn, here's who said what. It's still going to be anonymous. Keep your promise. Another portion of the second official visit is to present a short explanation of what a SWOT is. Again, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. There is information in the Club Coach Playbook that talks about what it is, and it gives you an example of a completed SWOT analysis. One thing to kind of keep in mind to remember to tell them is that, first of all, the strengths and weaknesses are internal ideas about the club. These are things that the club can control. The opportunities and threats are going to be outside forces that might affect how the club meetings go. Maybe it's not a good meeting location. Maybe it's an inconvenient time to meet. There are different things that they can possibly do. But try to give them an idea of what the SWOT analysis is. Now keep in mind, you did a lot of detailed work on the SW part, the strengths and weaknesses. And now you're going to give them an overview of what SWOT is. And now it's time to get into continuing discussion on what the opportunities and threats are relating to a SWOT analysis. Once again, in the Club Coach Playbook, you do have a chart that has opportunities and threats. It's got 10 rows. Hand that out to the group. And if you don't want to print those, you could really just give them copy paper if that works better for you. But give it to them. Ask for 10 opportunities and threats from everybody. Be thrilled with 5. Be absolutely thrilled if you get 5 from everybody. Once that is done, you can close your presentation on a positive note. Thank you for everything that you've done. This has been a great meeting. It's gone very well. We got a lot of information to work with. And then you will schedule that third visit. And once again, as we've talked about so many times already here this afternoon, that third visit is going to be dependent upon getting all of this information done. It's not going to be the very next week. On that third official visit now, you're going to start off by having a very detailed discussion on the opportunities and threats. Like the strengths and weaknesses I talked about a little while ago, if you can do flip charts for opportunities and threats, do it that way. If you have to do it online, on an online meeting, you probably want to recruit somebody, maybe from your club or somebody else that you know, to take notes for you, because you do not want to be bogged down taking notes while they're throwing all this at you. And it's going to be exactly the same process as with strengths and weaknesses. Get one from everybody, then go around the room. Don't write anything down more than once. You're the facilitator. Keep that in mind. You do not offer your own thoughts. You write down what they say, and if you have to ask clarifying questions, obviously feel free to do so. But record everything that they say, because if somebody says it, they believe it, and it's important to write down. You want everybody's input on everything you can possibly do. At this point then, after you've done the opportunities and threats, your next thing would be to reintroduce the strengths and weaknesses. So now you've either got your 4 charts or your 4 documents that you might be able to email to the group somehow. Maybe it's a subsequent meeting if it's all going to be online. And you've got everything up here. And now they can look at, here's our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. At this point, you might be thinking, because I would, that this seems a little bit repetitive to have them do the charts, on their own, hand these back to you, now do them up here. And this might seem a little bit repetitive. But here's the thing. You really want to make sure that you get everybody's thoughts on this. And you want to make sure, like we talked about in the Moments of Truth, that everybody has an opportunity to be able to get their thoughts out and talk about what they think are strengths and weaknesses of the club and so on like that. Those are all very important, and you need to make sure that you get everything from them. Does that all make sense? I'll bet it does. At this point now, you have been with this club for quite some time. You've done the initial needs analysis. You've had 3 official visits. You've done a SWOT analysis. You've done the club troubleshooting guide. You've done all kinds of work to assess how this club is going. And now once you got all this information, and hopefully you've enjoyed this an awful lot at this point, right now you're going to be getting into what we call now next steps. There's 2 things that I'm going to be focusing on here for next steps. And I mentioned them a little bit earlier when we first got started. Does anybody remember what those might be? If you don't, that's okay, because you know I'm going to share it with you. Okay. The first one is going to be a mission statement. Now, yes, Toastmasters International has a mission statement for what Toastmasters is. But this particular mission statement, I want you to help them write one that's going to be specific to their club. Because then they can say, this is our mission statement, this is who we are, this is how we do things. And the second one is to create action plans. Because with all this information that you've already done, without having some kind of an action plan on things that they're going to be doing next, it's all completely useless. You've done all this work, let's put it in work, let's put it into action. Let's make it work. To write an action plan, let's start with the mission statement first. Once again, there is a document in the back of the Club Coach Troubleshooting Guide, and I'm going to summarize it here real quickly in just 3 simple steps. First one, step 1, is to describe what your Toastmaster Club does. Be very specific. What do you do? And once again, if you've got a flip chart, if you're in person, write them on there. What do we do in our club? If you can't do it in person, then maybe do it online, do it on Zoom, whatever the case may be. And once again, have someone be your scribe. Again, you don't want to be bogged down on trying to write down notes while they're giving you all this information. Hopefully, writing a mission statement could be very energizing for the group. It could be very exciting for them, that they could really, really get into what they're doing. But that's what your role is going to be. Lead them through this. And once again, as a facilitator, what are you not going to do? Interject your own thoughts. Write down what they say, everything they say, ask clarifying questions as appropriate. Second step is to describe how your Toastmaster Club does what they do. Okay? How are they going to accomplish the what? Now you're going to do, again, facilitating a flip chart exercise or online, whatever the case may be. That's going to give you a whole lot more information. And then the third step is, why does your Toastmaster Club do what they do? Now there's 2 things here that I really want you to kind of keep in mind. Number 1 is, make this energizing. Try to make this fun for them, if at all possible. Let your personality come through. Let them see that you're enjoying this. All of those kinds of things are going to help. But there is a possibility that if they might be tired, you've done a lot of work on this particular meeting, they may get bogged down just a little bit. And after you get done with step 1, or you might get done with step 2, you might not be getting much information from them. It is perfectly okay to say, let's hold this off. Let's do step 2, let's do step 3, or whatever it might be, wherever you've gotten on so far. Let's pick this up next time we're together. That's perfectly okay to do that. But on the other side of that coin, don't have it in your mind that we're only going to do step 1 and step 2 today. Because if they are energized, if they really feel like doing what they're going to be doing, and they're really getting into this, and you're writing all kinds of stuff down, do not stop them after step 2, for example, and say, we'll come back and do this later. Because you're going to take all their energy away, all the momentum away, is all going to disappear if you try to stop them on something like that. So write the mission statement. Once that mission statement is written, have them make it available at their club meetings at all times. Maybe they can print it on their own agenda. And one important point, another key thing on these mission statements, personalize it. Don't say a Toastmaster Club. Say Toastmaster Club XYZ. This is what we do. This is how we do it. And this is why we do it. Very important on something like that. Second thing that's going to be coming up here is going to be writing an action plan. Because you can have all the ideas in the world. You can have everything that they've done here. And if an action plan is not created to be able to put some of these things back into play, all of your time has been wasted. And that's not going to be a good thing either. But when you write that action plan, there's two things that you have to keep in mind here. The club success plan and the distinguished club program. Everything that you do, everything that you help the club do, every action has got to point towards one of those two things. And in some cases, maybe it's going to point to both. If you're not familiar with the club success plan or the distinguished club program, Evelyn is there to help. It's online. You can get it. You can find it. It's there. But make sure that every one of these goals that you set out, every action plan is going to point up to those two things. Once these action plans are all written, the plan would be obviously to put it into play. And what are you going to do as the club coach to monitor their progress on these action plans? You know what it is. You're just not going to say it. You are going to have to continue to attend meetings. See how they're doing. Check up on them. What about action plan A? What about action plan B? Who's in charge? Who's doing what? How's it working? Or is it good? Is it bad? Do we need to adjust it? Whatever the case may be. And you as the club coach, you are the one who needs to monitor their progress as far as how well they are doing with each of these things. I like to try and share what I call words of wisdom with groups at different times, but think about these action plans here. Think about everything that you've done at this point. Think about all the work that you've done, and you know this club very, very well. But regarding action plans, any action plan must be implemented by the club members, not the coach. And this can go all the way back to the very beginning with the introduction that we did. How are you going to accomplish this, Mr. Club Coach? It's not how you're going to do it. It's how are we going to do it? How is the club going to do it? If the club doesn't implement these action plans, it's not going to work as well as you would hope that it would. I'm going to leave you with now 4 different thoughts on things that I think are important about club coaching. The first one is club coaching is not a science. It's not a 100% verifiable, repeatable process that's going to work for every single club, no matter where you're working, no matter who you're working with, and no matter who the coach is. It's not going to work that way. Club coaching is an art. At this point, you have spent a lot of time with this at-risk club. You know them better than anybody in District 8. And you probably know the club better than a lot of the club members know the club. It is at this point that you might have to make some determination that this particular process that I've shared with you, one of them somewhere along the line, maybe I can do it a little bit shorter. Maybe it takes more time. Maybe I do them a little bit out of order. These are all things for you to decide, but decide you must, because again, you have to make the adjustments. You have the ability, you have the authority to be able to make a change in this process that you know is going to help the club a little bit better. Communication is the key, is very important with this. Because once again, I mentioned earlier that you're going to communicate with District 8 leadership. Your first point of contact is going to be your club retention chair, who you now know obviously is Evelyn. Have a meeting with Evelyn before you get involved in doing the club coaching program. Have a conversation about how often Evelyn wants to hear from you. How much information do you want? Do you want to hear from me after every single meeting I attend? How do you want the information to come back to you? Text, email, voicemail? You want to talk every day? You want to talk every week, every 2 weeks? You want to do a Zoom meeting? There's a lot of possibilities on things that you can do to communicate with the club retention chair. Make sure that you do that and get that started up front. Once again, the Club Coach Playbook is a guide. I tried not to make it so it's regimented, so that if you don't do this, you can't do this, and so on like that. It's a guide to help you through this process. And through your ability as a facilitator and a leader in Toastmasters, your role is to guide the club through the process of improving what they do. The Club Coach Playbook can help guide you through all of that. The success that you will attain with any club that you're going to work with is going to be due to your dedication and due to your preparation and your planning and your follow through on everything that you do. When you are preparing, when you are doing all this work, let your personality shine through. Be exuberant. Have fun with this. Let them know that you're there to help them. But make this program successful because of your dedication, your enthusiasm, and your personality. And I know you can do a great job. We've talked a lot about who is who. Here's a little bit of contact information for Evelyn. As the club retention chair, you've got her phone number and her email there. I encourage you to jot those down. And you've got a phone number and an email for me on there also. I do want to mention that if you want to contact me for any reason about this club coaching program, please let me know early in your text, your email, or your voicemail that you're a Toastmaster. With all the crank calls that people get, I kind of tend to screen a lot of those out. What you see on the right-hand side of your screen is the cover to the Club Coach Playbook. It has been posted to the website, and it is available for you at any time. There is a lot of information in there. Everything I talked about here is in the Club Coach Playbook in more detail. It's in more detail, but there's also a lot more information prior to what the process actually is. When you're doing your club coaching, I encourage you to get this workbook, take a look at it, print it out, look at the handouts, and don't get caught unprepared. Congratulations on being a club coach. Evelyn, I'd like to give it back to you.
I want to personally thank Bob for this presentation today on successful club coaching. Thank you so much for this training. I also want to thank Tom Kasha for helping to make all of this possible and putting the new Club Coach Playbook online. Patty Howard, as most of you have already spoken to, is also on my team and a vital part of my team. Literally, I would not be able to do this without you, Patty. Thank you so much. I want to thank all of you for joining us on this call, and for everyone who's watching the replay of this. Hopefully it goes up on YouTube quickly. To find the new District 8 Club Coach Playbook that Bob was referring to, go to either the District 8 website at dist8tm.org, and hover over the Resources tab, scroll down to the Club Coaching section, click on that to open the Club Coaching Resources, or scroll down to the Club Coach Playbook. Click that and you will discover the newest edition. To watch the replay of this presentation on YouTube, go to the same District 8 website, click on the little red icon with the arrow on it at the top right hand of the page. This icon is directly under Find a Club. This will take you to our YouTube channel, or you can go to YouTube, type in District 8 Toastmasters with the search bar, and you can find previously recorded Lunch and Learns as well as other District 8 videos. Thank you all for joining us for successful club coaching with Bob Heaton. Thank you so much, everyone. This will end our Zoom meeting.